And hello, and welcome to AleksConnects Creative Sandbox. My name is Alex, and let's continue our Fanart project, Angry Birds vs. Transformers. This is the 30-second session. I'm already working on this project a long period of time, so it's definitely, So, quick recap, I'm continuing working with this illustration. My whole point is focus more on quality and less on quantity. For now, I actually want to create quality project first, and then of course I will work on how fast I'm going to work with them. Since this is like my first illustration, I want it to be at least like first complex illustration of that caliber. I want it to be as good as possible because again, I want to create quality work, and because of this, of course, by the way, this is my previous illustration that I did for DeviantArt 17th birthday, which was a couple of months ago. And basically starting from this illustration, I kind of decided, why wouldn't I work on something more complex? And by the way, this illustration was pretty random, I'd say, so I didn't plan it at all. So I finished this illustration probably in about 2 days, or 2 or 3 days I spent on it. It was done pretty quick, without overthinking, simply just from imagination, and the story in here is not something that's super important, so it's open to imagination. Well, I guess the people who see this could think whatever they want about it. So yeah, it was done based on this template that was like a thing that DeviantArt was specified as a challenge, and the only thing that artists needed to do is implement this template in this work. So basically I tried to do so by implementing them in here and here and here and here and here. I will continue to work on this. Today I hope, or at least I plan, to finish finally sculpting this robot, because I definitely need to finish with 3D stages and finally go into the lighting stages. And I still don't know how I'm going to work with lighting. First, of course, I'm going to plan this lighting in here. But if I'm going to feel like I don't have enough information, of course I will go into the Blender and then make a scene to plan this lighting, and actually we'll figure out how lighting better is going to work. But for now, I guess let's just go right away into the ZBrush and continue our roboto. By the way, at the end of the previous session, about probably 20 minutes of the session, I waited for resymmetry resolved. So basically, as you see, we have a symmetry present here because I needed to put this part deeper in form, and the only way that I could do this is singularly without mirror mode, and I turned it off. So yeah, and the only way to mirror this is to use in deformation Smart Reseam. But the problem about Smart Reseam, as you can read, it kind of works with separate points, and the more points mesh has, the longer it's going to take for calculating this. And since we on like total points 1 million plus, it's basically could take forever to recalculate. So yesterday I actually waited for probably a couple of hours and it still didn't resolve. So I guess we're not going to bother right now about mirroring this. I will probably mirror it this at the end, but in order to mirror it, I guess we need to go into low poly, and the only way to get this into the low poly is to use zero measure. So yeah, so basically I'm going to do this at the end of the session, or not in the end of the session, but in the end of creating this project. By the way, yeah, let's just make quick adjustments that I noticed previously, and I kind of want to address them. It's not something that's super important, but still, I think it needs to be addressed. Yeah, so right now I'm actually going to adjust some problems that I see, and after this we are going to go into the working on details for this arm, for both of them, of course, by making one arm. So this is definitely going to be a challenging thing to do. I hope that in 3 hours that we have today I will manage to finish the arm. If not, I will either extend the session to 4 hours, or we will get into it tomorrow. But I actually like planning to finish it, so I don't know how much time I'm actually going to put into this, but let's hope it's not going to be that long, because I kind of want to finish with 3D stages and finally go into 2D. And it kind of means that I'm probably not going to work on details as I wanted to. So for instance, I kind of wanted to make these shapes more detailed. So for instance, like creating right here more sharp angles in order to make these shape divisions more prominent. But I think it's not something that is necessary for this illustration, at least. Again, I also talked about that maybe I will realize this design separately from this illustration. So that means that details that I'm not going to put in this project now, I will probably put them in this project later. So after I use this project for the singular character design. Also, the good thing about this, I guess, I will see it a little bit differently after a big break. Whoa. For some reason, today my English is bad. I don't know. My brain, for some reason, don't pick up on English today. For some reason, I don't know. Let's hope it's not going to be an issue. And if I'm going to talk nonsense, sorry. I will try to make sense of what I'm saying and what I'm talking about, but there's definitely going to be a bunch of mistakes there, at least grammatical. Come on. Yeah. No, we don't need mask. So yeah, basically these divisions, they are necessary for creating distinct separations of the shapes for us to see. Like, I still understand how they work, but visually it's not enough to make them stand out. So for instance, they need to have some type of a thickness, and of course they need to look like they're flat shapes, not like so basically they need to have a sharp edges. And we definitely need to make sure that we are going to showcase these sharp edges. Again, I don't think that I need to do this now, because again, I don't think that this is too important, but still I kind of want to make these things at least for main plates. Ideally I want them to make it for these plates, for these, but again there's too much work into doing this, and since they're not necessary at all, at least for this illustration. They could work in the final design, for instance, when I'm going to make this robot as final design. Then of course we probably go through the stages and actually finish it. But for now, for this particular illustration, the information that we have is enough, at least for these parts. I know where these shapes are, I know how light is going to be behaving. Because again, creating them is not that hard, but it's definitely going to take some time, and I want to finish the overall design and finally go to the next stage, rather than spend too much time in shaping and polishing this, because again, we're not going to use it in final illustration directly, we are going to use it as a reference. And as a reference, it needs everything that it needs, it already has everything that it needs. Adding a little bit of a shaping here, then just quickly smooth it out. Suggesting hard surface, and since we're not going to see our robot from the back in our illustration, I don't think that we need to put any details into the back at all. Guess it's unnecessary. Okay, so let's finally start work with the hand, and throughout the whole session I will try to work with the hand and actually finish it finally. Again, in previous sessions we mostly worked on the leg, and I can like how the leg works. It's still ideally, if it would be a final sculpt, of course I would work on it more and more and more and refine it, but since this is just for the sake of reference, creating a reference, so I don't want to work on it too much. Because again, I'm going to draw everything by hand either way, so working on a sculpture and making it too detailed, it's not necessary. Yeah, also this thing is kinda wobbly, we need to make it more. Again, it's not that important, but kind of want to make it look a little bit by the way. Yeah, this is definitely it. So, yeah, I definitely need some time to put my mind into creating mode. So I guess I could just basically create without talking. But again, since today my English for some reason is going to be worse than usual, I think, yeah. And of course, by the way, like when I'm nervous or when I'm creating something, I'm usually nervous, no matter like how I'm doing it. If I'm creating while streaming, I usually nervous. If I'm creating without streaming, I'm still nervous. I don't know, for some reason when I'm creating, I'm passionate about what I'm creating, and for some reason it gives nerves. And when I'm nervous, my English becomes worse. So yeah. In advance, sorry for if I'm going to mess up English phrases and whatever. Again, I'm not non-native speaker, so okay, let's just finish with the leg again. Today is the hand is our main priority, or the whole arm, not just the hand. So we are going to start with smoothing out hand itself, because again we need to prepare it for details. So let's just smooth this out. By the way, I want to touch upon one thing about smoothing. So right here we have actually 3 types of smoothing. So the regular smoothing that works like both ways, it smooths out peaks and valleys right away and goes something in between, somewhere in between. And also we have 2 additional smoothers. They work, of course these are the standard brushes. They work separately. So this thing is actually smooth out only peaks. So for instance, if we have, for instance, this is a valley, this is a peak, and when we are trying to smooth them out, whoa, no, this is the wrong brush. It basically not touches this valley. The valley stays the same, and it tries to smooth both of these peaks. The same goes for smoothing valleys. Where is the valleys? So right now these 2 peaks are going to stay the same, and if I'm going to smooth this thing, valley is going to be smoothed out. This is pretty awesome thing that I actually probably had to use before. I kind of forget about this, but it's actually awesome thing to make things a little bit more smoother. So for instance, if I have this one and I don't like how it looks and I need to smooth it out, I could use smooth valleys, and basically it makes things a little bit more sharp. Sharp looking, without changing the whole shape. Basically, it's going to make things look a little bit more, probably not hard surface per se. So for instance, this one is bad and we need to smooth it out. And by using this smooth peaks and smooth valleys, it's going to smooth only things that we need. Of course, it's not perfect, but still, it works for our purposes, which is a good thing. Especially when we are talking about making things right in the particular places. So for instance, right now this thing is actually smoother than before. It has valleys. Now we smooth out all valleys and it looks better. The same probably for this one. It had valleys, we smoothing them out, and now it doesn't have them. It's much more smoother. So it's definitely something that I need to think about using. So if I change and I need to get rid of this peak, I will smooth out. It's not going to get rid of this peak completely, but still, close. Yeah, if I'm going to work on these small details, I definitely never going to start working on the arm. Let's just go into the arm. Got distracted. So yeah, we are working on smoothing things, so let's smooth out things. Again, the problem when you're using the regular smoother, it kind of smooths in between. So if you have valleys, it smooths valleys and peaks and finds something in between. And this way you could lose your value, or not value, but volume, yeah. So your shapes could become smaller. And when you're working with either peaks or valleys, it kind of maintains the overall shape, especially when you're smoothing valleys. So by smoothing valleys, your higher points stays the same, and your peaks just go into smooth out, closer to your... No, your valleys could be going to be smoothed out, closer to your peaks. Yeah. Okay. So, so first thing that we need to do, of course, establish the main form of this. And since this shoulder pad is crazy deformed, so I'm not necessarily know how it looks from all angles, so we didn't work on this shoulder pad from the side, so I didn't establish its design from that point. We worked on the shoulder only from the front, and we kind of have a little bit of idea how it looks from the front and from the back. And I kind of think that this information is more than enough for us, but still, right here shoulder is pretty simple. It doesn't have any additional information to this, so it's just one big plate. In the center we have some type of a decorative element, and that's it. So, and it has a little bit of wedge or something in here. It's kind of not enough for actually working with a 3D shape, and of course it looks a little bit different from what I actually designed. So we definitely need to redesign this shoulder and make it look better. But still, I would want to stay closer to what I see in my design, to the design that I did. So for now, I'm not going to go too far with the hand, because I don't want to lose details. So first we are going to work on the shoulder. Shoulder. Okay. Oh, my hands are, yeah, constantly cracking. Not a good thing, but you can't do anything about it. Okay, so yeah, by the way, let's just turn off perspective, because now we actually need to re-establish some elements of the design. And the shoulder, I kind of starting to like the idea of this shoulder pod, to have a little bit of separation in here. So I don't want to make it right like here, right? So I actually want to continue this wedge, or I don't know how you properly say it, throughout the whole shape. It actually will make it more appealing. Really? Okay, wait a sec. Today I'm going to use dictionary in much more better way. I'm going to use Google Translate to figure out the words that my brain wants to say, but I don't know how to say it for some reason. So yeah, basically I'm talking about the slope. So I kind of want to create this slope in here, and it definitely needed here. But before that, let's just separate the shoulder itself. So let's just use them standard brush in order to separate things that are going to be separated in the places that they are going to be separated with the designs that we established earlier. Minku, 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 do-do-do-do-do. Panku, 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 do-do-do-do-do. What was that? Aw, autosave disrupted. Okay, I guess I will rather make these things go here. So I'm not going to turn off these things yet. I think they could like be valuable for my brain to pick up visual information. Yeah. So now let's just create some type of divisions. So I guess I will start with the slope that's already established in here. I can like how it looks, so let's just accentuate the slope better. Accentuating the slope. I think it needs to become bigger the further it gets, or the opposite, smaller. I will think about that. I also could create a pretty interesting designs by creating something like this, for instance. It's kind of already suggested in here, and we just could go with it and see how it's going to look. And it's definitely going to look much better than the regular design that created in here, because right here this design is pretty usual. It's just like hemisphere cut out from the sides in the particular shape. But by implementing these type of changes in here, it actually going to look much more interesting in terms of a design. The cool thing is that we have 3D advantage, or I would probably say it like the advantage in seeing this properly in the 3D space. And of course it's not going to be mirrored 100%, it needs to be a little bit different. Yeah, I kind of like how it looks. Oh damn, it actually looks pretty cool. Yeah. Ooh. It's so awesome when a particular designs for almost no reason evoking a feeling in your stomach. Like, just you feel it, like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Of course, not every design is doing this, and probably this design is not going to be not going to do this for every viewer who is going to see this design, but at least it works for me. Like, I actually liking this design and digging it. And the whole thing about design is nothing but your personal decisions about something. So yeah, there are rules, there are specific design rules, but usually design is just your ability to make specific decisions based on appeal, on believability, on function, and whatever. It could be controlled with the knowledge about design rules, not design rules, but principles of design, the elements of design. By controlling these things, of course, you could operate and make your designs better, and because you now can make better choices. But at the same time, like, usually design is pretty, how do you probably call it, subjective. Yeah, it's pretty subjective. So like, everyone has a different sense of design. Although the rules of design kind of the same, yeah, by the way, right here I would rather use a smoothing peaks. Oh no, and actually try to make the surface look more hard surface. And I hope by smoothing peaks only it's going to work. It's not going to be perfect everywhere, unfortunately. It's not going to smooth the particular things. This is the only problem with this thing, that unfortunately it's not going to smooth everything. So it's going to ignore some of them for some reason. I don't know why. It's like algorithms for some reason used in a different way. Okay, right here we need to go smaller. Be careful with this one. Now you see, it actually kind of creates this much more smoother look that we would probably made by using trim standard or regular smooth brush, because again it works only with a specifically it works with smoothing out peaks. It's not going to touch valleys. Oh, that's why it's actually didn't work here, because these things are peaks. So now we need to change to the valleys and smooth out the rest by making it better. That way we will make the surface look pretty smooth. Pretty smooth. Smooth surfaces. By the way, I decided to rewatch Office, or The Office. This awesome series that has awesome storytelling and camera work and characters, and so, I don't know, this is like my favorite series. I watched it probably 4 times already, maybe more, I don't know. Of course not like constantly. I usually making breaks in about like year and then rewatch it. But this show is actually inspires me a lot. It has awesome story, it has awesome characters. Steve Carell is awesome there, and every other character is so like unique and alive that it's crazy. At the beginning I kind of thought that Office is pretty stupid series, like, but then after I watch it, oh no, it's deep. It's more than just like funny thing. It's like life. I don't know. It's awesome. Yeah, let's just make a little bit of adjustments in here to make it better looking. So I definitely need to make this one a little bit more roundish. pretty complex shape in here. Ideally, I would need to, and also you see, like right here, it's more like curvy. Then it goes right here, and right here is much more. I definitely need to learn how to put these thoughts together, like in terms of how do you call these things. Okay, slopes, curvatures. How do I definitely need to like work on my vocabulary for these things, because I want to describe them properly, and not, yeah, definitely in a spare time I will spend time on making this right, because come on, if I want to educate someone about something, I definitely need to educate them in a proper way. The first step is to understand find the right words. Okay, so ideally saving 100% saving. Whoa, that was a slightly glitching saving. I also need to figure out what type of shapes are going to be here too, or at least not what type of shapes, but how they are going to be divided, because I need to picture them properly. And since this shape is pretty complex, and the whole point of this is to understand these complex forms, not just recreate them visually in 3D and that's it. I want to make it right. So creating this type of a slope, I actually made this design better, which is a good thing. It looks asymmetric, which makes it unique, not boring. Creating this slope, it actually makes this design more appealing. So now we kinda need to decide what to do next. With all of this, with shoulder pads. Again, right here we have pretty complex transitions, and I'm not necessarily seeing these transitions. So if these transitions would be just like one curvature, it would be much easier to understand. But since it has like right here, and then it goes a little bit like convex, then it goes concave, then again convex, then again slightly concave, then again convex, and then again concave. It's definitely a not easy form to understand. I kind of could recreate some type of things that could suggest these shape divisions, like make slight markings in here. To suggest these shape divisions. They probably even could look good on the final design, who knows. Trying to look at this from all possible angles to figure out what's about this that because these type of shapes is harder to figure out how they are going to receive light on them. So like how they are going to interact with light. And if we are going to make these forms, for instance, reflective. We need to understand how this format actually interacts with light. The same goes for just a forget how it's called. Lambertian surfaces or Lambert? No. So just regular non-reflective surfaces like this one. Okay, let's definitely want to add a clay buildup in here. I need to make these forms less unpredictable. They need to have either understandable in terms of a transition curve. For instance, if this thing is convex, it needs to be convex all the way. I don't want to make like convex then concave, convex then... So yeah, I need to make this much more uniform, because right now it's too random, and this randomness unfortunately not going to help us to visualize this thing better into the... Right now I'm using regular smooth, although I could make with peaks or valleys, but I think here let's just make this mixed one. Yeah, we need to be careful to stay out of the edges. When I started sculpting, I always did this. Like, I created a line and then, oh, this line looks not smoothie, let's just smooth this. Oh, I lost the line. Then I'm just going, okay, I will redraw it again. Oh, but again, it's not smooth enough, let's just smooth it again. And then let's go again. And it was like, brr. So you need to stay further from shapes. The things that you need to smooth out usually, not shapes, but like edges. Yeah, you need to stay out of far from edges. And if you, for instance, trying to smooth out something, smooth this outside of this edge. I'm spending too much time on a shoulder part, first because its design wasn't established enough, first, and the second because it's pretty prominent. So these shoulder pads are something that actually will make our design pretty distinctive. By the way, again, I forgot to do a thing. Go into draw, go into snap to mesh. Yeah. Also, I definitely don't want to forget about these things, so I definitely want to add them because they actually will add more toughness to this character. Right now he has like almost a visible neck, and although his neck is pretty thick, it still needs to be a little bit covered in order to create some type of viciousness, because if you see like the regular villains, for instance like Dracula or I don't know, Batman, not a villain, but still, at least in my eyes, he's like badass vigilante. Yeah, so in order to create your characters more, I wouldn't say negative, but put in them a little bit more negative connotation, we need to cover a particular places, and usually covering neck it tells the viewer psychologically that this character is hiding something. Without like the turtleneck, I don't know, it's going to be perceived as not that threatening because, oh, this character, there's nothing to hide there. But neck is usually a pretty vulnerable place, and if a person in the illustration or character in your illustration is actually hiding the neck, psychologically it's perceived as like you definitely have something to hide, and I don't like that. So yeah, and you kind of feel a little bit suspicious to this character, or at least feel uneasy. Yeah, so definitely what I wanted to do is to... Oh, whoa, this is too much. Why it's so... Don't tell me that I lost the sensitivity thing. Because sometimes I feel like brushes are just basically losing the sensitivity to them. Let's just check this out. I know that the bigger brush I make the... But again, sensitivity is kind of here. Or intensity. Kind of the same. Or... So yeah, now it actually back. So right now I'm actually pressing slightly. And it's barely visible. And this is pressed higher. Okay, so my main concern is to make these things look uniform. Again, there's too much of peaks and valleys in here, and they need to be smoothed out because they create they definitely create much harder form to understand, and I need for this form to be understood pretty clearly for my brain to so yeah, I don't want this to be neither convex, neither concave, and there's not going to be any transitions in here, or at least, yeah, it needs to be uniform. Slightly pressing stylus to create these things. We definitely need to dynamesh them in order to properly apply them before smoothing them out. Because again, these shapes are considered not like directly placed, like in clay addition, they slightly changing, like pulling out form from the sculpt, from our sculpture, and adding additional layer to it. But I'm not sure about that, like 100%. It's at least sometimes it feels like it. I know that, for instance, standard brush, it's definitely the only purpose of it is just pull out shape. Clay buildup, it's just basically adds layers of the shape, but still it pulls shape with adding additional layer too. And the harder you press, or no, maybe it's just adding the layer. No, it actually pulling it too. So, with it, in addition to adding a layer. So that's why we need to reapply I forget how to call it. Dynamesh? Yeah. In order to make it proper. Okay, now this one looks a little bit more uniform. I kind of get rid of random peaks and valleys, and now it's more less random and more controlled, I'd say. I don't know. Still needs to be adjusted a bit in a couple of places there. Okay, it's like this thing needs to be pulled out a bit. Pulled out a bit. Of course we could do this with the move brush too, but again, the problem with the move brush, it needs to be slightly applied. If you go too much, you just basically will create a peak or valley. We don't need those. We need sharp things, or at least make them more, again, uniform. Okay, let's just apply this and smooth it out again. But now let's just use a particular mesh. So I guess I will choose to smooth valleys. No, peaks. We definitely need to smooth peaks, because I feel like in some places there's too much of a peaks, and definitely make it smoother. I don't know if there's better methods to do this thing. Probably the best method to go around this problem and solve it is to not sculpt from a random things like I did. Whoa. It kind of changes too drastically though. Kind of completely changes the whole form for some reason. I don't know if it works though. Let's just go with it, see how it's going to look, and then oh no, it actually smooths this form too much. We definitely need to be careful about this. How I know what type of thing I did there. So we can't go into undo history and actually see what type of thing we did, unfortunately. I guess we not. By the way, I forgot to present to you this thing. Let's just go back until I will be sure about this. Okay, this is move brush, move, and starting from here I probably started to shape things up. Yeah, or smooth things up. Oh no, we got to far from shoulder. And again, I'm working with the part that I'm not going to use in the work, but since we're going to use this design either way in the future, I think if I'm going to work with it, it's best. So yeah, right now we actually have pretty smooth thing in here. In terms of, now it's not random, it actually from all angles looks, almost from angles looks pretty understandable. So it's like a hemisphere or modified hemisphere, which is the whole point of doing this. The same we need to do for this one. It needs to have uniform transition, not like crazy peaks and valleys like this, but something more but before that, let's add a little bit of suggestion by trying to mirror this thing, because I kind of like how it looks. We could use it in here too. Although it kind of kills a bit the possibility of putting something in here. but we still could. Maybe like not in the center as it was designed in here, but for instance like this, it could work. Again, the reason behind putting these circles in here is just to create some type of similarity in different parts of the body. Because again, this design could be viewed as completely unrelated for some viewers. And in order to avoid this confusion, because they're pretty different, we need to add some type of element that could unite them. And these circles are basically uniting them by telling the viewer that these things are actually related and they are actually belong to one character. This is one of the ways how you can work with these type of problems, or at least with solving these type of problems. Maybe I could do though, like something like this. Actually, yeah, actually I could. It could look pretty cool. Again, for the most part, since we decided to redesign this slightly, we need to experiment. And experiments usually take time, of course. It actually almost at the same place that it was designed. The same for this one. Pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. So yeah, this is actually kind of works. Maybe I even could... No, this thing is definitely not going to work. But I will try this either way. I don't know. I don't know about that. But without it, it's kinda... kinda screams that we need to put something in here. I could create something like this in here. It could suggest the alien form, but I don't think it's going to be visible though. Oh, now it looks like a snake. The cool thing is though, like at the end of the previous session I realized that this thing looks like a shark. Although I didn't intend to create this like this way. So this, and the same for this one. This one starting to look like a horrible snake, or deformed snake, or some type of lizard at least. So the reason why it happens, because our brain usually goes to familiarity. So when we are working with unfamiliar shapes, our brain automatically goes and makes the shapes familiar, because we need that. This is something that our brain is constantly picking up, because familiarity for our brain is like something that helps us to survive. It helps us to find new patterns in the world and use these patterns to make decisions based on them. Okay, we have to be careful about this. Maybe I need to move it a little bit there, a little bit here. Oh, lost in the rotation. I don't want to lost in the rotation. Okay. Something about this I like and something I don't. It looks like lizard that just sad. It looks like a sad lizard. We need to make it less sad looking. We don't want a sad lizard in here. Although, we could put sad lizard in here. That could create a sense of that this lizard don't want to be here. And it put the transformers just basically put this lizard there because they bad. I don't think that transformers in this particular illustration are villains, though. I think I will let viewers to choose who is the villain. Because Angry Birds, they are aggressive, and they could be represented by villains. It all depends for whom you are rooting for. If you can say this, I don't know. Let's hope this is a proper English. If not, sorry. So, who you are rooting for? It all depends on this. If you're rooting for Transformers, then you would probably go with Transformers. If not, Angry Birds your choice. Or if you don't care about neither of them, you will just see them both as a bad guys that just basically fought, and that's it. This could be the case too. Let's just apply Dynamesh and smooth this out. Smoothing things out. Okay, I don't like this bump. Definitely need to tone it down. Yes. So yeah, I didn't finish about like how you could go about creating these type of shapes without messing with them like I am. So ideally, if you're creating some type of a round shape, of course you would just use probably adding IAM primitives. You would just probably added one of these primitives, deformed it properly and just place it in here. That way you don't need to shape up these things. But since I worked a little bit differently, and instead of creating this from already existing shapes, I worked on this by building up particular shapes, and this way is much more sketchy. But the problem of this method, then you need to spend more time to clean up these shapes. So I guess it all depends how you like working with this. Ideally, of course, I think it's better way to establish a particular primitives right away and then add or subtract something from them, rather than work like I did, just basically made all these things from a blob. So basically, yeah, I still started with the regular shapes. I started to build this shape from a circle, then not circle, a sphere. Then I'm just basically extended the sphere, made the sphere a little bit, basically modified the sphere, and then I'm just started to pull things out, and that's it. So maybe it's not the best way of making like final sculpts, but it's pretty good and it's pretty free way of sculpting, because like it actually much more don't know, at least for me, this way of sculpting is free. It's like I'm actually drawing something. But even if you would draw this, I guess it's best if you would establish these shapes beforehand. And then worked on them, on their modifications. But I don't know, maybe it's just an experience, and with experience I will make smarter decisions. But again, like, already now I'm learning, already now I'm figuring out how I could do this differently. So I'm learning on my mistakes, and this is the main thing why I'm doing this. One of the main things. I'm doing this for a bunch of reasons, but still, one of the main things that why I'm doing this is, of course, the fact that I'm going to learn from it, and in much more, I'd say, effective way that I could learn from it by just making it outside of the streams. Kind of creates an extra motivation for you. At the end, you still need to do it for yourself. This is the only way how you could, like, keep up with motivation, because if you're doing this just for the wrong reasons, for instance, just for the money or for the fame, or like, I don't know, for just strictly for the viewers, it's not always a good thing. So it's a good thing when you're doing this for the viewers, of course, but you need to have some type of motivation behind this that could, like, work for you. So, like, for instance, you have to gain from it in terms of, like, experience, psychologically, you need to learn from it. So behind everything needs to be, of course, a reason, and usually this reason needs to be personal in order to keep up with long-term motivations, because if your motivations are not long-term, if they are short, like, for instance, hey, I want to do this for money, it's not going to stay too long. So, like, if you're not going to get the instant gratification for it as you hoped for, you're not going to keep up and doing this anymore. You just try, and then you're just going to be finished with it, or you are going to try until, like, a bunch of strange things that probably not fitting you just for the sake of gaining what you want. But again, every person is different, of course, but and there's always like, the question of morale, like, do you want to make it the right way or just make it? Like, and usually people that want to make it the right way are struggling more than the people that just want to make it without considering how they just want to make it. But again, it's too broad question to talk about it, so I guess we're not going to touch upon this topic yet. It's definitely will bring discussions, and yeah, I'm not necessarily prepared that much to discuss something, because again, I want to get better in English before I could discuss these topics. It's pretty hard to explain your point of view properly, sometimes even in your own native language, but when you're trying to explain what you mean in your non-native language, is of course much harder thing to do. Oh, come on, how many times I already spent on this shoulder? Okay, hour. Really? I spent a freaking hour on this. By the way, stream is lagging or not? For some reason, there's a bunch of frames dropped. Why? Tell me why? Why it's happening? Why I'm dropping frames? I don't have to drop frames though. Like, I actually dropped frames, pretty decent amount of frames. But what the reason? Okay, let's check. Everything kind of seems fine. Maybe I forgot to turn off the Wi-Fi. No, I don't think so. I don't think that something could download or upload and actually cause this problem. Everything seems fine. There are definitely some frame drops there. So right now actually frames not dropping. So I guess dropped frames are caused by particular things in here. Maybe. Okay. By the way, let's just go this right way and make small breaks every hour, because I will just basically kill myself by working without breaks. I need to take small breaks in order to stretch and refresh my physical state, because come on, usually when you working 24/7 in your workstation, not 24/7, but like at least even if you work like 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day in your workstation, it's pretty bad for your organism, body basically, and you need to either go through breaks in order to not overstress your body, or it's pretty funny thing, like how you can overstress your body by just sitting in your chair. Oh yeah, believe me, you can. More than with physical things. Basically, movement makes your body stronger, and static positions instead, they make your body weaker, and this is the thing. Okay, so I guess, yeah, on that thing I will make a quick break. So let's just go into the break, and after break I will be back, and it's going to be a short break, not more than 5 minutes I guess. And after this break we will continue to work on the shoulder. I actually will figure out the design, and if I'm not, I'm just going to straight into hand, and I will get back to the designing shoulder a little bit later. So yeah, let's just make a quick break. Wear our break thing, and I'll be back in a minute or so. And I'm back. Okay, sometimes more than 5 minutes, maybe like 6, but I kind of managed to get back as quick as possible. So yeah, let's just continue. You took a break. Continue. My smooch guard definitely need to be replaced. It's self-made. It looks horrible. It's already turned. Has a bunch of holes in it, so yeah. So I don't know, I actually want to add something in here. So let's just, oh yeah, I know what to add. So basically the problem, actually break was pretty beneficial for my brain to refresh my memories, or refresh my mind. So, okay, the problem I guess that I said before is we have two different design elements. So for instance, if we are going to take this leg has approximately pretty similar design to the kneecap. This design kind of repeats somehow in here. We have something in here, so basically throughout we have something in the head. So we need to add something similar to this shape, because this shape for now looks too unrelated to the whole thing. By adding this circle, we kind of created some type of relatability with these elements, but still it still looks too, I would say, ew, too alien, or not too alien, but first thing that we need to do is make this thing a little bit less curvy. So we don't have that much curves in this transformer, in this design. We have, but there's too much of them. We need to make them less present throughout the design. Because again, in the end, this is more non-organic shape than organic. They're still going to be present in a particular places. For instance, I like how it looks here. But most places we need to get rid of them by straightening them out. Oh no, right here actually it's not going to work. So we need to add and leave this. Oh, come on! Oh no, wait, it's working fine. It's just basically slight delay. I kind of watched on my dashboard for the Twitch, and I see that there's still a sandbox break there, and I like the what? I already streaming. What the heck? And yeah, it's just a delay. And by the way, I don't know why this delay is actually created. So it doesn't have to be that big of a delay, but it's still pretty big delay there. So what I'm doing here and what I'm doing on a stream, it's pretty different. It's crazy big of a delay. So like only now break is over there. And right here it's like 5 minutes past. So it kind of creates a problem with interacting, unfortunately, but also let's just get rid of this one though. I kind of want to make this one as a whole. I don't want to separate it. Let's suggest that these things are one thing, one design. So yeah, what I've talked about, and it's actually made me pumped up a little bit. So I figured out the problem about this shoulder pad that it doesn't have. We need to create more relatability for this to this pattern, to the shoulder pad. And in order to do that, we need to add something like this, some type of a design that's going to tell us that this shoulder is related to this body. Because so far, right here, we have these type of elements. So we have these things, we have these things. So the same we need to do from this one for this one. It's kind of a pretty hard thing to do, so you actually need to like figure out how to make these decisions the right way. I don't think it's going to be an easy thing to do, so let's just experiment and figure out what looks the best for it. Okay, this is too deep. ZBrush, by the way, don't usually drops frames, because or at least it doesn't have to drop them, but for some reason it still drops them in stream. Let's hope it's not going to be present in recording. Okay. See, small adjustments are actually now looks better. Although it's like we still need to move this. Smooth things out. Smooth it out. Oh. Have a problem here. How we are going to solve it? Either by making this one like this. Oh, yeah, it kind of works. Design decisions. Okay, let's just save. I don't remember what I saved last time, so saving is a good thing. Forgot that I already chose it, so let's make this a little bit. Yeah, I kind of stuck in the shoulder. I still hope that I will manage to finish the whole arm, but if not, okay, this thing is too concave. We need to make it convex. Sorry about that. for that and for that. I make things like this. I really take to this. It's probably the place that I didn't make uniform enough. Again, this is one of the ways how you can go about it, because previously we did this by just adding a clay build-up and by smoothing it out, and this is the second way how you can do this. So just basically pull out the forms that feel off to get rid of this unnecessary valleys. Then you're just choosing valleys and get rid of them by leaving only peaks. Doesn't work for some reason. Oh, no. First, yes, like this. Oh no, that's why I didn't apply it as a Dynamesh. So now it needs to work fine with the valleys. It's still not. I guess it all depends what type of shapes this algorithm reads as a dominant one. Okay, now I think it looks a little bit better. So we actually have this slope, and it's pretty clear. It's not like random as it was before, which is a good thing. But I still think that this thing is too out there. We need to put it a little bit there. Controlled down. I don't know how it's going to look. Because I kind of liked before that the fact that this thing was big. Now it's less imposing, but in terms of a design and shape, it kind of looks good. So yeah, continuing the problem that I wanted to solve. So I need to somehow add to this shape some type of divisions that could make this shape close to triangle designs. So this shape uses a bunch of triangle designs, and we need to add these type of triangle suggestions right here. And like the problem, how? So of course we probably can't add this in here because we have limited place or limited area to do this, and also it's just not going to look right if we put these here. But I will think about this again. Experimenting, seeing what's going to work, what's not, and then figuring out what's the best choice. Okay, for now let's just create something like this. So creating these elements will actually make this shape more relatable to what we see here. Like small changes. That's not. It doesn't need to be like too crazy, but they are definitely going to change the perception. So the same we need to figure out how to do how to work around in here. So we could do kind of similar thing. For this one. And then, for instance, make things go down here. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, let's add eyes, and now we have a character in here. Yeah. I don't know about this though. Like, okay, let's just get rid of this thing. I don't think that we need it for now. Kind of distracting. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Get rid of it. Let's hope we have enough undos on this. Yeah. Maybe what I need to do is to create some, is to create something like it is in here. That close to what we have in the stomach, on the stomach, and replace these things with sharp ones, like this. This could work, actually. Definitely will do that. Cool. Because again, we need sharp edges in here. We need to add to this design something sharp in order to make it work. And it's not random decisions, although it may seem like it, but again, the whole point of all this, like all my processes, and I actually try to control things. I try to explain why things work the way they work, why I'm making particular decisions the way I'm making them. Because behind every work stays a bunch of different decisions, and usually artists not telling these things, because some artists just basically don't know why they're making a particular decision, they just do. And I actually want to explain why I'm making particular decisions, because this is something that I always want for the artist to teach me, like other artists. I always listened to artists that explained me why they're making a particular decisions, more than just an artist who just draw cool stuff or awesome stuff or whatever. For me, it was always at least my brain was just needed these type of elements. Awesome, so I basically repeated this design from here to here. It's actually pretty cool. I think now we need to get rid of these elements. They're not unnecessary. They're now unnecessary, unfortunately. Just put things back where they were. And smooth that out. Smooth them out. Since I'm kind of digging this design, I think we need to save. I don't think that I will change that much. I need to think about this cube. Do we need it? I don't think so. It's kind of don't work. Oh no, we're actually smoothing only peaks. Let's smooth the whole thing. Oh no, they actually stayed. We not necessarily get rid of them because I smoothed them out as the peaks, and they were not applied. Now let's just make it properly. So you tell me the whole session I will spend on working on the shoulder pad? Maybe I am. If I am, then of course Monday is going to be a finishing thing for the sculpt. I'm having fun, like actually doing these things. It may not seem like it because I'm not that energetic, because I'm focused on work, but so yeah, the last thing that we're going to do is of course add the same elements in here. Okay, we got back, we apply Dynamesh because we had a new shape, and then we just move this yeah, finally, now this design actually works. Maybe the circle right here is not that, like, perfect, a little bit off. Oh, snap. I lost in the camera. The one thing that you need to adjust working with ZBrush is how camera works here, because sometimes it's not an easy thing to operate. There is things with ZBrush camera that sometimes makes you mad, because they have, like here, they're a pretty interesting function with the Alt. So if you are, for instance, now I'm pressing Alt and right click, and actually I'm moving. But if I will press left click and Alt, and now you see, I now not pressing Alt, so basically I forget how this is probably called. So I stopped pressing Alt, and now I'm still holding the right click, and it kind of works with the zoom. I know for most artists this is like almost the awesomest ability for the ZBrush, but I'm not using this. I'm actually using zoom with the control instead of using an Alt, and it usually pretty like annoys me. So when I'm moving thing, then I'm pressed stop holding the Alt, and I'm still continuing pressing thing in order to continue to move, and instead of this I'm zooming out, and it's pretty annoying. But I know that some artists actually love how it works, but I'm not one of them. It kind of annoys me. But again, everyone has its own opinion. So now this thing is actually better. Still need to move this one a little bit higher, I guess. To make this thing look from the side pretty cool. Now this design has these elements that we have here, and now this design is actually works. The only thing that we need to do is just make it more prominent. First we apply Dynamesh, we're going to save, and we are going to add additional thing in here. I think again, yeah, we lost pressure sensitivity again. How to regain it though? Like, if I probably switch brushes, no, it's not back. Maybe if I will change a little bit the intensity, it will. No, it's not. Maybe this? Oh, maybe this will change it. Nope. So yes, sometimes you kind of lose pressure sensitivity in here, and there is a way to get it back. There is definitely some type of movement that actually give us this thing back. Either brush size change. So for now there's no pressure sensitivity in here. So no matter how I'm pressing, it's still not present. So I need to figure out how to get it back. Maybe turn off and turning out lazy mouse. I don't know if it's actually back or not. No, it's not back, it's still there. Choosing between ZBrush is a sub. I think it's the problem of Dynamesh. So if we're done with Dynamesh, no, it's still losing pressure sensitivity. We need right now actually control pressure sensitivity. We need to bring it back. So let's just try to do this and get back. Maybe it will help. No. No, it actually helps. Okay, so next time that I will lose pressure sensitivity, I need to oh, come on. Okay, now it works fine. So yeah, now pressure sensitivity is back. Awesome. So if you lose pressure sensitivity in ZBrush, you need to hide it and bring it back, and I guess it will. And the reason why you're perhaps losing pressure sensitivity, either because of the Dynamesh sometimes, but it's not always the case, or either because of this. So I guess every time that I'm clicking, unfortunately, this window and pressing something in here and just somewhere there, it kind of pressure sensitivity for some reason just loses itself. So, but at least we figured out how to bring it back. Good. Yeah, what I wanted is just to make this shape a little bit more prominent. Needs to be sharper, or not sharper, but straighter. The same for this one, I guess. Actually, want to make the whole thing pretty prominent. Oh, what else? Rip. He put too much. Again, this is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to create smaller streams, because make smaller streams, because when you know that you have like 3 hours, you're not necessarily too hasty about things, so you can, oh yeah, I will definitely manage it in 3 hours. But now you like seeing at the clock, looking at the clock, and what you see is the fact that you didn't manage to do things in time. But that way it's kind of pretty cool when you're actually not like rushing yourself. You have time to think, you have time to adjust to things. Again, sometimes it's not a very good thing. Especially when you work on the client work, of course, you need to be fast, and the time that you are have till the deadline usually needs to be spent wisely. And the one thing that definitely will help you to work with the client's work much faster way is just experience, because you can't plan it throughout the whole thing. Just an experience. Adding, and adding, continuing to add things. Again, I want to distinguish this shape much more clearer. That's why we need to make it a little bit higher out of this shape. And it's much more easier to like pull out or make one step higher, smaller shape than the bigger shape. So for instance, if I would choose to make this shape, put it like down, I would need to deal with this one, with this one, with this one, so, and this side too. This is too much. So I chose the shape that's not that hard to deal with. Smaller shape. It kind of allows me to save a little bit more time. Okay, now we need to definitely choose either peaks or valleys. So we have mostly valleys here. Let's just smooth out valleys. Of course we have peaks too, but first let's smooth out valleys. We could just smooth them out like using regular smooth. I still don't know how they properly work in conjunction with each other. So for instance, I know that if I will put, okay, this right here is definitely crazy valley that we need to get rid of. And smoothing valleys. So if you're just like using regular smooth, and when you're using them separately, first valleys, then peaks, or the opposite, it has, I guess, some type of advantages. I think it's different, because if you're using just a smooth brush, it kind of smooths things out somewhere in the middle. But when you're using first peaks and then valleys, or the opposite, I think it's a little bit better on what happened. Yeah, for a second I couldn't rotate. But when you're using them a little bit separately, I think there's more control. At least it's more controlled. Maybe it's the same result, but you feel more controlled. And for particular surfaces, I think it's better when you use them separately, especially when you're working with details. Okay, it's kind of cool. Kind of smooth them out, pretty cool. Works fine. Oh yeah, by the way, forgot about this part. Still not perfect, but again, we don't need perfect in here. Okay, so right here I actually first need to go with valleys and then with peaks. Peaks and valleys. Yeah, sometimes there's nothing to talk about in the process. So for instance, in terms of decision making, so most of the processes, of course, they are tedious at some point. They definitely will become tedious at some point. You're not constantly making decisions, like not life-changing decisions, but work-changing decisions. Sometimes you run into particular decisions that just involves a bunch of repetitiveness, and yeah. So this is probably one of those. You kind of solve the problem, and now there's a bunch of repetitiveness to it that I just need to repeat until it's going to look right. So we could make this one actually round in order to combine round shapes with sharp shapes. Yeah, I actually like this better. It has pretty good design divisions. So for instance, this shape is big if we are considering it without this circle. This one is middle, and these two are, no, this is actually considered small, and these two are big, or middle, or this one middle, this one small, this one somewhere in between. But again, usually the cool thing about like comparing these design elements, you need to understand that from every angle this comparison is going to be different. For instance, seeing this for this angle, we see, for instance, okay, this shape seems big, this shape seems middle, and this shape seems small. So yeah, from this angle things different. So for instance, okay, this shape seems pretty big, this one is moderate or medium, this is small, and this is small, or whatever. So that's why when you're designing elements for the particular angle in 2D, usually you need to consider their design divisions only from a particular angle. But if you are going to use this from different angles, for instance, if you're working on comics or on some type of like serious illustration or serial illustration, then you need to consider how these things are going to look from every possible angle, which makes design much harder, of course, because now you need to be aware of not one angle and figure out how this design is going to separate and work from this angle, but you need to now think how it's going to work from all possible angles. And it of course makes things much harder, but at the same time much funner. At least for me, actually having fun. So the only thing that definitely needs here, we need to add something similar to what we added in legs. So we need to add some type of border in here to make this design a little bit more appealing, because for now it's like just basically moderately big shapes separated by each other. Now we need to add something small to contrast design by adding this type of a crease in here, or I don't know how you properly call it though, but ornamental element. We actually will do this. It will make design much more appealing. Yep. Of course we could do the same from in here too. Maybe we need to, I don't know. Yeah, I think we need to separate these designs from each other to establish. Okay, first let's just try to put this one in here, only one, in here and in here. Let's see how it's going to look. It's going to look good. I will keep just only one of those. If not, I will add this one too. But I think that by adding this one, it kind of becomes overbearing, or not. It actually looks better. Yeah, let's add this one too. Just delete those. And add a slight ornament. Because again, this thing actually makes this design attractive. So it actually attracts attention to it. So we still have good contrast between shapes. So for instance, right here there's going to be a bunch of details in here. And when we go in right here, we have place for rest. But I don't want to create too many places for rest, because this design has place for rest in here more than enough. Again, I'm considering this design from all possible angles because I'm going to use it not from one angle but from multiple angles, and that's why I need to think about these things now, not later, or just disregard them and see them as something not important. Okay, now I actually like it more and more, and it's pretty close to what we have here. So it wouldn't be enough just to add this thing, because Right here we actually have division, like small transitions. We have big plates and we have transition between these plates. The same thing has to happen in here. We have big plates and we need to add a transition between these big plates. This is one of the design elements that needs to be present. I wouldn't say that we created something similar in the head. I think we had to create something similar in the head in order to make these things better, but it's definitely not to be added somewhere here. If I will add something similar, I will add it in here, because this thing on top considered more like a helmet, like the armor. This could be not an armor, but actually organic shape of this transformer fused with the neck. But this is definitely a part of an armor, and this is the part of an armor. This could be a part of an armor. This is an armor. Let's just try to add something in the head. Maybe design of the head could look even better by adding these things. So you see, again, oh, so that's when we're losing it. We're losing a pressure sensitivity after saving. Yeah. And back. And then pressure sensitivity is back. So yeah, after going out of the ZBrush this way, we will regain pressure sensitivity. So let's just try to experiment with this element. Maybe it's actually going to look even better in terms of a design, because again, I want to add these elements to make sure that, okay, I'll save, and we have a good design throughout the whole body, not only. Yeah, it actually works. Oh snap, it actually works pretty good. We definitely need to like keep it, because come on, adding this small element, now it actually works with this one, with this one, with this one. So now we created more cohesiveness or cohesion, I don't know. So we actually made things related to each other. This, now it's pretty clear that this thing is actually relates to this thing visually, because we added elements that suggest this thing. We have these elements that goes in the center, we have these elements that goes in the center, we have these elements that goes in the center. So yeah, cool. The only thing that we probably could add in here is to add nope, doesn't work. Okay, awesome. So yeah, working on shoulders was pretty hard, only because we had to polish this shoulder by get rid of the problematic zones, because before that there was a bunch of problematic zones there. I don't know if I need to make this one like flatter in here, because ideally I think I need. We'll put this one higher. Yeah. Make this one higher is the better choice. Does it look good? Think it is. Cool. From all possible angles, rotating, seeing what's wrong, what's not, what we could change, what we could add. And this is just a reference. Can you imagine how much work we need to put in something final? Yes. It's a good thing that we created this separation. Although it's still a question how I would go around this separation. So, like, should I go and add things here to make it pop out? Like this. Or just leave it as it is. I think these questions we could just answer by working with 3D, because when we are going to work with 2D lighting, we need to figure out what shapes are going to be sharp, or what shapes are going to have sharp angles and what shapes are going to have the opposite of sharp angles. Oh, come on. Yeah, my English today is... I can't even think of simple words that I know. It's frustrating. So now we actually didn't lose pressure sensitivity. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it's not, after saving. Okay, good. So let's finish with this. The only thing I guess that we need to do is, we have a couple of separations here. I think we need to continue them in here, because again, all paths needs to go somewhere. We just can't cut out them in the middle. If we have some particular path, we need to continue this path. And if we will end this path, this ending needs to be logical. So, for instance, ending this path here doesn't seem logical because this is one shape. It's not separated. But this shape is actually separated from this shape. And right here, ending this path is more logically fitting. Ready to do. Working with paths. And by path I mean, like, we just started a line, we need to end this line somewhere. Oh snap, it doesn't look very good. Okay, we need to make this one like this. Bring back this one. Apply. Smooth out slightly. By the way, I'm smoothing with peaks. We need to be careful about this. For some reason, my tummy is hurting. Maybe I ate something wrong. Beanie. Oh yeah. Careful. Smoother. So yeah, finally, after 2 hours plus, we now can get into the hand. For hand, it's not going to be that painful because this was something in between of the hard surface and soft surfaces, but hand in here definitely going to be a soft surface, so I don't think that I will be stressing too much about the hand. The same was for this one, so I didn't stress about the whole body. I actually managed to finish it pretty quick, considerably quick, because yes, we had some type of a straight lines, but these straight lines are not necessarily straight. That actually they actually like wrap around the form. So the same for the hand. We're not going to stress about it that much, which is a good thing. Supposedly we could even finish working with hand pretty quickly. I don't think that I will manage it in an hour, I guess, with the arm, because like I probably could finish an arm, but working with hands definitely will take me some time, because hand is actually not established at all. So I didn't spend any time on establishing hands because I didn't have enough details, pixels to work with it. So I kind of decided, oh, I will work on it in sculpting. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to finish this sculpt, unfortunately, throughout the session, because now I'm actually starting to see these things a little bit more realistically. This is one of the things that artists usually stumble upon. Also, like, you're working with a project, oh yeah, I'm making plans, I know what I'm going to do, and yeah, I will definitely manage to finish it in time. But then the further you go, the more you understand the complexity of what you need to do, and it becomes pretty complex. And the more this understanding becomes, like, the more awareness you get, the more realistically you're starting to see things. Someone would call it a critical thinking. Let's hope I'm not, like, smoothing them too much to lose the volume. We always could inflate things if we are losing too much volume. Like, but inflate is too aggressive. So, for instance, yeah, this is definitely aggressive. And now the muscly arm became not muscly arm. Okay. So, what's next though? Please tell me what's next though. Ready to do so. Yeah, first let's just make this separation more evident. Now we have the ability to do it. To do it. To do it. The ability to do it. Apply. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging thing to do, because we have too much, like, concaves and, like, basically too much valleys and peaks in here, and I not necessarily want to actually get rid of them. They need to be here because they are the thing that actually creates. By the way, we actually didn't finish working with the shoulder, because we actually have right here pretty interesting design element that kind of separates shoulder from the arm. We need to do something about it. I actually forgot about it completely. So let's just turn off or turn down our reference, say. Yeah, we definitely have here this element that we need to address somehow. I guess before getting into the hand, we need to actually work on the separation, and we definitely have one. So first I will suggest it as the and then we need to kind of go here for some reason. Yeah, let's just separate them. Let's just make sure that this thing is just connecting with this one. Cool. And again, it's pretty, like, annoying the fact that stream is has crazy delay in about 5 minutes, I guess. I don't know the reason behind this. It's probably because I had a little bit of problems with dropped frames, and maybe dropped frames created this. Oh, you see, actually this thing goes there in original design that I did. Rather than to do original design. Michael Jackson. Yeah, I don't have a voice today to do this. Of course, we then need to work with these elements in the hand. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a pretty interesting thing to do. Yeah, I don't think that this is going to be today though, because I think I will spend a decent amount of time to work on this part, but at the same time, okay, establishing these shapes would be a good thing. The only thing that I need to figure out what shapes are going to be pulled in or subtracted, and what shapes are actually going to be pulled out. And this is one of the things about like the hand design. It's definitely going to create problems. Also, we don't have the information about the hand from the side, so we kind of need to design it based on the front and the side view and the back view, which definitely will make things a little bit harder. Not super hard, but a little bit challenging. Okay, where this thing is going to go. Part of me actually thinks that I need to redesign it completely, or not completely, but pretty drastically, because I didn't kept in mind side view. I thought about it, but not that hard. Okay. It looks kind of cool, man. Kind of cool. How about this one? I think we need to create something similar with this one too. But it all depends what is going on in here. So we actually have some type of separation here too. So let's just go with it. And connect them together like this. Or no. Again, this Alt thing is annoying. When you're pressing Alt to move, then releasing it, yeah, I remember the word, releasing it and it goes with zoom out. It's pretty annoying, at least for me. Again, these shapes are semi-organic, so they don't have to be too controlled. They just need to look organic. But we still need to put something in here that doesn't look that much organic. So by adding these elements, sharp elements, we suggesting that this form is not 100% organic. Yeah, we actually got to the shoulder, to the elbow. Since all these pieces are connected, I need to work on them now. Figure out how I'm going to work with them. For instance, maybe the shoulder needs to be popped out more in this area, and maybe I even need to make it crazy bulky, I don't know, big. Like this. And then smooth things out. Yeah, my stream has a pretty crazy delay, I think. I don't know if dropped frames are continuing though, like they stopped for a bit, but again, they're going to be present only in streaming. It's a good thing that they're not present in the recording, I think, because in the end, recording is what's going to be used for for just analyzing this thing. Oh yeah, my hand definitely needs to rest, or my finger at least. So I guess I will make a quick break, and after that we will continue. But before that, let's just draw this element in here, because I want to put as much design elements as possible now, because then I will definitely going to change them. And after a quick break, my brain's kind of going to be refreshed, and I'm going to see these design elements a little bit differently. And this is a good thing for me now, because I didn't decide on these design elements 100%. Also, these design elements, as you see, they are not symmetrical. So in order to like save this organic look, I don't want to make them too controlled, I don't know. Okay, how things are here. We actually have something similar in here too. So these things are actually going to be connected. So yeah, this is the advantage of working with 3D. And this advantage would not be available to us if we would work only with 2D. This is one of the things that I like about 3D. It gives you more opportunities to analyze form, especially when we're talking about the complex form. Okay, this one I think we need to make the same as here. Just get rid of it. Smooth that out. Apply. Smooth, 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 smooth. And then make the same thing. Repeat in the direction of this one. And since we're pretty far from, like, we actually made hand a little bit bigger, we probably need to extend these design elements. Definitely. because now these things are much thicker than they were before, and saving. Okay, good. It's going to go there. Come on, where's my break? This is the thing that I like in working with art, and at the same time it usually sometimes frustrates me, the fact that it's pretty hard to take a break. Usually when you work on with creating art, you're so like into it, so it's pretty hard to actually just stop and take a break, especially when you're feeling what you're creating, like when actually things are just making themselves. Kind of inspires you, and yeah. Okay, let's just make this thing right like this. Yeah, it makes more sense if we connect it this way. Ready to do designing things on a girl. For the most part, of course, I am just sticking to the design that we already did, but I'm trying to analyze this design and make it better. I think we could run into some problems because I didn't establish shapes enough. So for instance, this part seems strange anatomically. It doesn't need to be here. So this thing is actually anatomically works fine. We will make this a little bit more, I don't know, much better, but starting from this point, this thing definitely doesn't look right. It's like it needs to be pulled in, because anatomically this thing needs to be either straight or slightly concave. Definitely not convex. And the only reason why I actually made it convex concave. Oh no, I again forgot the difference. So concave, this is the thing that pulled out. No, actually concave it's pulled in, and convex it's pulled out. So if I mixed these things before, sorry for that, yeah, so the reason why I actually made these things convex before is because I saw them as something similar to this one, like this. But anatomically it's of course doesn't look correct, so we made it better. The only thing that I would do though is just pop them up to like something like this. Yeah, it definitely needs to be slightly puffed out. But then, so yeah, anatomically it kind of looks a little bit better. So yeah, we'll definitely take a quick break because it's pretty high possibility that I maybe will extend this session. In order to actually figure out if I will do this or not, I need to definitely make a break. Maybe I will not extend it like in 3 hours, but maybe half an hour, possibly. So the last design that I will do before a quick break is Come on. Yeah. This one. Oh, it's too deep. Because again, I need to put this information out there in order to analyze what works, what's not. After a break, by refreshing my mind and deciding these things kind of need to be a little bit curved. Because again, I want these shapes to repeat themselves throughout the design. So for instance, right here we actually have a curve, and right here we need to reply with a curve in order for this design to look as one. The same for this one. I have a specific angle in here, and I need to create a specific angle in here. Oh, by the way, and the same we need to do for this specific angle, which means we need to change it. So this thing has to be parallel with this one, because if not, it's going to look out of place. Come on, man, you need to go on a break, on a quick break. Your hand is going to kill you. Yeah, I will leave it for now, like at this, and after a quick break I will be back and I will continue to like suggest these design elements, because we definitely need to figure out how they're going to connect throughout the design. So again, I'm going to work with these projections, flat projections, to decide what to do with it. Again, we don't have information from the side, so we just basically need to figure out it by ourselves. And yeah, so after a quick break I will be back, and let's hope that I will actually finish at least this part of the arm, and maybe even this part of the arm till the end of the session. I definitely not going to go with this part of the arm, the hand, because it's super unrefined, so we need to spend a lot of time to actually refine it. So yeah, see you in a bit. Where our break thing. Okay, so yeah, I will be back in a minute. So yeah, I'm back. So yeah, this delay thing is kind of bothering me. It's pretty crazy because it's pretty hard to interact with the chat properly when you're having this type of a delay. I don't know the reason. Again, at the beginning of the session, I kind of dropped a decent amount of frames, maybe because of this. I'm gonna have any problem, some type of problem. So yeah. Let's just see what things are changed because of the delay. Yeah, I missed because of the delay follow from Monoship64. Thank you for the follow, very much appreciated. So now I'm actually seeing you in the chat because I actually been in a break throughout this time, but again, since stream is delaying, I guess you saw me sculpting. So yeah. So yeah, during the break, streamed actually streamed, so now we are going to continue. Yeah, welcome. You saying that this is your first time that you actually stumbled on a creative side of Twitch, and you need to learn ZBrush, you say. So cool, this is actually pretty cool. ZBrush is an awesome tool. I'm myself actually a 2D artist. I'm not like creating actually 3D art, but I'm using 3D as a tool to learn how things actually looks in 2D. So yeah, this was basically the main reason behind this. So I wanna to write in the chat thing. Okay, so basically, yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm just using 3D tools to understand how things are going to look in 2D, because as an artist you need to understand the 3D side of 2D, because in order to create something in 2D space you need to understand 3D form of it. And for me, sculpting or modeling, these are the closest thing to this. Of course I could use like real tools such as, I don't know, real sculpting, or making some type of a, I don't know how you probably call them. Okay, I need to figure out how these things are actually called from Russian to English. So let's see. In Russian they called I forgot. Yeah, I kind of tired. It's the end of the day in Moscow, Russia, so it's pretty late. Today was a long day, so yeah, my brain is basically frozen. So yeah, I could use the real elements for this, but of course, in reality, you need to put much more time to make these things right. And when you have these 3D tools at your disposal and you can use them to learn these things, it's pretty cool. Usually it's a pretty cool and awesome. Yeah, it's actually like 5 minute delay almost. It's crazy. I don't know why it's happening. It's annoying as hell. Oh, come on. So basically I tried to type a text and I type it in Russian instead of English. I hate when it happens. Sometimes it actually happens. Let's just find a way to actually make it right. I can't. Yeah, this is a bummer. So yeah, let's just hop. Okay, so yeah, I will continue to talk about this. So, and just going to design next. So yeah, right now I actually like what I'm doing. I like how this hand actually looks. It kind of looks pretty cool and pretty awesome. It still needs a couple of adjustments. By the way, who actually deleted this line? It actually was there. For some reason it's just disappeared. How? This is interesting. So, yeah, so I'm continuing. So basically, as an artist, I guess you need to understand 3D form, and ZBrush, for me, this is an awesome tool to do this, because it's so intuitive for me. I don't know, it's like when you're painting, you need to think about creating illusion of reality, and at the same time, you need to visualize things from your mind. So you kind of need to create what you see and what you imagine in your brain. And in 2D it's pretty challenging thing to do, because you need to be pretty mastered in both of these skills. You need to understand how 3D form works, how it works in the space, and bunch of other stuff, of things that you need to consider when you're working with 2D. And for me, 3D tools such as ZBrush or Blender that I'm usually using, again, Blender I'm using for modeling and for creating scenes, and ZBrush I'm using for understanding forms and actually creating a complex organic forms, because again, ZBrush is awesome for that, and it's pretty easy to learn though. Like, it took me not that long time to actually learn ZBrush, which was pretty awesome. So like I pick it up pretty quickly, and I think if you gave a chance to ZBrush, it definitely could be a cool thing to do, because especially if you're an artist, you will definitely benefit from it, because ZBrush is basically artistic tool. It's created for for artists specifically, and that's why ZBrush it feels pretty strange at the beginning, because it doesn't have like the same things as the standard 3D program has. It actually has much more, and it actually much more intuitive for an artist to do. For instance, I could sculpt in Blender too, but sculpting in Blender, it's not that intuitive. It's more like, I don't know, it's just less intuitive. ZBrush is actually makes sure that sculpting here is the primary thing. That's what I like about ZBrush. That's what I like about ZBrush. That's what I like about ZBrush. Yeah, so chat on the screen is definitely going to be super delayed. So what I'm talking and what you see in the chat is definitely going to be out of sync. Still, don't know why this happened. Like, probably it's because at the beginning of the stream there was a bunch of dropped frames, and maybe these dropped frames actually created some type of a lag. Who knows? Either way. So yeah, let's just keep this thing going. Again, I think I'm not going to extend the session. I will probably end this session in 10 minutes, because I think I've done everything that I wanted to do with the hand, but we'll see. We'll see how it's going to go. Maybe I will get a second how you probably say it. Second breath and get super inspired. Not that I'm not inspired, but I'm just probably tired. So yeah, I kind of like how this hand looks. The only thing that I could probably do is make this one a little bit more interesting by adding this design element. As I said before, adding these type of elements helps us to create visually for the viewer things to look at. In terms of like details, because if we have too much of a big shapes, the viewer's eyes just go through these shapes and go to the much more complex stuff. And by adding these type of shapes, or this type of designs, we're actually adding something complex for the viewer to see and to stick and watch it. It's not necessarily like it's not applicable for every possible viewer, of course. Everyone is different, but still, in most cases, for general like audience and for the most of the viewers, psychologically, this is the way to control this thing. Okay, and this one has to be smaller. This one too. And this is going to be a design element that we are definitely going to see from far. Small one, but okay, we're not seeing him from far. Oh no, we're not. Either way. ZBrushing mini PPD. Oh no, we got slow lag in here. Oh, because of the stupid lag, I actually missed cool sounds of subscription, or not subscription, but follow. Or I'm not. No, actually, yeah. Yeah, I guess I missed them. I guess the only way to see them is on recording itself. Okay. So I guess let's just, before the end of the session, let's just try to finish this part of the hand. I definitely not going to continue because like I actually need to figure out or refresh my mind on this part, and then I will, in much more better way, after I will continue to work with this part of the hand, is definitely going to look better, because for now it's kind of deformed, and if I'm going to rush into it now, I will probably make a bunch of mistakes and not going to do good job. So the only thing that I will do is just prepare it for the tomorrow's sculpt. Yeah, but these things are definitely needs to be addressed, like in terms of the shapes, they are looking too deformed. We need to make them look closer to real anatomy. It's a pretty hard thing to do. Of course, I'm not using your references because we usually can't see our hands. Or no, wait a minute. This thing is actually goes here. This is a proper way of putting it. Although we could get a little bit smaller in here. But then we need to make it smaller in here too. I wish it was, we actually have the possibility of measuring things up. So we could use a transpose tool in order to measure distance. So these units telling us how wide hand is here, and now we need to figure out how wide hand is here. Yeah, it's definitely smaller here and bigger here, although it doesn't look like it though. But again, this part of the hand definitely needs to be wider. Oh, it's actually not that much wider, unfortunately, so we definitely need to extend it because it's not wide enough. I guess if we will compare the ratio of wideness, if you can say it properly, for this hand, it definitely needs to be much wider. PDM, PDN, PDM. So yeah, there's a bunch of things to change in here before going into this. That's why I don't want to go into this now, because I will make a bunch of mistakes and I will spend crazy amount of time to making things right. So instead of this, I would rather take a, not break, but just end it here. And starting from next session, I will definitely continue with a fresh mind. I will be much more, I don't know, I will make much more better decisions. Because I'm going to have a fresh mind. This is one of the things that artists need to learn to do too. So where to stop. We need to understand where to stop, because if we go too long of doing a particular thing, we could ruin it completely because we don't know where to stop. Of course, it comes with experience, but I wish it was an easy thing to know. Okay, yeah, so I kind of like how overall design looks. I still don't know how I'm going to actually separate them from each other. I think they're not going to be that separated much, so right here they're not separated at all. So I could like accentuate them by adding a particular elements like this, but I don't think that it's going to be necessary for this one. I think it kind of works like it is. Of course, I could accentuate particular parts, but other than that, so anatomically, I kind of like how it looks. Again, these things are suggesting a flow. So for instance, this thing goes there and flow actually continues here. It's pretty cool. Then this flow continues there, wraps around form, goes here, then the same goes here, flow goes there. It directs our movement into the hand, and then we are going to continue to explore how to properly create the rest of the designs tomorrow. And of course, I definitely don't want to forget about this thing, so I need to push this thing up somehow, make this thing right. It's definitely going to be a challenge to do because I probably need to create it with this brush. Just basically putting shapes, dynamashing, putting a bunch of shapes, dynamashing, putting a bunch of shapes, dynamashing, whatever. So it's basically made these things. But it's going to be in next session. So where we have been before that, yeah, right here. So yeah, on that note, we are going to quickly, or not quickly but slowly, wrap around our session. Let's just closely look at the design from with a perspective now. Yeah, I actually like how shoulders look. The fact that I added to them this slope actually makes them much more like badass for some reason. Maybe this is the reason, because we created a slope that creates shadows in here, and that way they look much more impressive, imposing. And the cool thing is, it's definitely going to work even from the far view. It can look like how they look from the side, from the back. Yeah, from the back they are pretty cool. From the side, this is side with a perspective, and from the top. And now we actually see that in order to ensure that this transformer is going to look more intimidating, by adding this thing in here is definitely going to help, because now it actually not that imposing. So shoulder pods are working, but because we don't have this thing in here, it kind of looks like, I don't know, something's missing. And by adding this thing in here, yeah, this thing in here, making it bigger, we will ensure that he's going to look properly. And so our main goal is to make him visually imposing. He needs to intimidate with his look. This is kind of a purpose of these statues. they are like guards and they need to protect Transformer Sanctuary, and this is their main thing. So yeah, on that note, we will definitely end this session. Where our thing in here, so let's just find everything. So yeah, on that note, we will end the session. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and see you in the next part. Bye bye. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you actually see what I'm telling. So this is the thing that I usually use in order to remember what I'm saying, because I definitely need this thing, because I started streaming not that long ago, and I usually need these things in order to just basically figure out how to end streams and how to start streams. And it's a pretty important thing for me, because sometimes when you start streaming, like, you usually don't know what to say, and this thing is definitely helpful to at the beginning, at least. With time I will just remember them, and they will of course go much more naturally, but for now I'm going to read from these things, and they definitely help me to keep a little bit of structure in terms of like saying hello and saying goodbyes, and also repeat these things, because like every stream, I guess, has to have some type of a thing to them in terms of how you are like welcoming viewers and how you saying them goodbye. So this is the thing. So yeah, on that note, we just definitely will end the session. Again, thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and goodbye.